How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another week of Bleeding Blue with GSU here on Atlanta Sports Unlimited. Got a little bit different today. We got a special guest. We have Anfernee Patterson of the Atlanta Voice joining us today. How you doing, Anfernee?
Good. How about you, man?
Doing great. Even better because college football is officially back this week. We had week 0 last week, so I guess it was back last week, but we got more games this week. So it'll feel more like college football with more games on the slate this week. Georgia State, they opened up their season, finally football season. We've been counting down the days since it was about 70 days ago. We've been doing videos all summer long, leading up to the much anticipated start of the Panthers 2021 football season, as they will take on Army this Saturday, September 4th at Center Park Stadium. So a rematch of a team that played a few years ago. Georgia State won the rain-soaked game. It came down to the end. You know, the triple option, no joke, Georgia State was able to get through it. So, Anfernee, you were in a press conference with Coach Shawn Elliot the other day. Yeah, I guess one of the first of the year, first of many, I would say, because you have a lot of press conferences to do this year. So, what were some of the things that stood out to you from the press conferences, his in particular?
So there were definitely a lot of things that stood out. I think one of the most important things is, they're bringing back 22, 23 starters. So he definitely feels like that should be an advantage for his team because they have the cohesion, they have the chemistry for the team. Speaking with chemistry and cohesion, he feels like his team, everybody for the most part knows everything. He feels like compared to last season, coming into this season, with COVID and, how that affected most teams, he feels like last season they were even prepared, and this season they're just in the flow of things even better. So they're ready to go. Okay. We may talk about this a little bit more, but obviously matchups on the schedule. They open against Army, they have UNC, they have Auburn. He's excited for these matchups because he gets to see where his team is early, but he also likes the quality of opponents that he plays, and I think that's what matters to him for the most part when it comes to that. And for the most part, and the most important thing, Quad Brown, quarterback. Everybody's talking about him. He says he's exactly where he needs to be. He feels like if there's a throw, he can make any throw on the field. A coach is very confident in his quarterback. That's what you want to hear. And that's what that's what you're supposed to hear, right?
Right, yeah, of course. Do you think that maybe there's been too much pressure put on Quad Brown? Because, a lot of people expect him to take the next step and be the guy to lead the Panthers. And sometimes players, we see him in a sophomore slump. It'd be the second 4 years of starters. So you think there's too much pressure being put on him?
Maybe just a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, he likes the pressure, and he wants what everybody else wants. And the most important thing is a Sun Belt championship. He wants that, and I think he's confident enough that he thinks he can lead his team to that. I think he's really talented enough to lead his team to a Sun Belt championship. I only just say a little bit because, of course, he's still a young quarterback, if that makes sense. He's a redshirt sophomore because he redshirted his first year, but he's, it's a little bit early. I think Georgia State fans and everybody is just waiting, especially after their bowl victory performance. I think everybody was just waiting on that next thing.
Yeah, and I think too, like, people are just anxious. They have, like we just talked about, they have a lot of guys returning. They want to see more. And we got to also remember, people, that this is only the 12th year the program's been in existence. So they weren't immediately FBS at the FBS level. They were in FCS for, I think, a year or two. And they got to the FBS level, and they've been bumping up competition. That's something I want to ask you now. And then looking at the schedule, do you think this is the right move? Georgia State's been scheduling a lot of tough games. They got UNC this year. They got slinging Sammy Howell, who could be the number 1 pick in the draft, or at least a top 10 pick. Auburn's no slouch. They have a ton of talent in the SEC. Now, we'll say, remember what happened last time, Georgia State facing the SEC team on the road. But still a tough task. And, there's nothing you can do about the Sun Belt teams because those teams are just good. I think those teams are just good. They're just even better now. But those are going to be in your schedule no matter what. So you can't control that, but you can control the non-conference schedule you play. So do you think that Georgia State is doing the right thing by making their schedule so tough?
I like it. I think it's perfect. Coach Elliot, I mean, that's what he wants from the team. I think it's good for Georgia State because, again, if you want to get to these places, you have to play the best competition.
Right.
There is. I'm a firm believer in iron sharper iron. I believe even though you're a Sun Belt team, you're playing one of the ACCs, SEC, Big Ten, Pac-12, whatever team it is, one of their best teams. Right. Even if you lose that game, you have a lot to gain from that. Just because, again, iron sharpens iron. Right. You know, at the end of the day, I feel like Georgia State is looking just for that ranked win against the opponent. And they've been so close, like, because, again, you have teams in the Sun Belt that are going to be ranked. We talked about 3 teams, right? App State, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana. 1 to 2 or all 3 of those teams may be ranked at some point in the season. And it's like there are opportunities that are going to be there. How do you learn how to win against a ranked opponent? Well, one, you use what you did when you played them in previous matchups. You take some of that, but you also use your tough scheduling, what you did against the best teams to help you into that. And the Sun Belt is no joke to win.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You have to do what it takes to get you to that point. Georgia State's a young program at 12 years old, just like you said. I think it's great for them.
Okay, fair. That's very fair. It definitely is good for them. I would agree. In order to be the best, you got to beat the best. And playing the cupcake schedule is not going to help you prepare. Even if you lose to Army, you lose to App State. I mean, you don't want to. Obviously, you want to win those games because you want to be in a good position for a bowl. But if you lose those games, it's not the end of the world because they don't count against your conference season. But it does prepare you for what you're going to do. And who knows what can lead. If they beat Auburn, it can roll over to the next week and have a very good impact on them facing App State. They lose Auburn and they lose bad or in a crushing fashion, it can affect them going to App State in a negative way too. So looking at the way the schedule's set up, I mean, it really, there are no breaks in the schedule. You got to go Army triple option, and you got to switch up the defense next week to go North Carolina in the pass happy offense. You got a tough physical game against Auburn, followed by another tough physical game. Then you come out of the game, you can make it a slight break for Texas State, but then you jump into your rival Georgia Southern. And then at some point in the season, you have to play Coastal, and you have to play Louisiana the next week. That's not easy. And then you finish up the season with Arkansas State and Troy. Then no slouches either. Like, they're not a team, but they're no slouches. They can beat you. So I mean, just looking at Georgia State's schedule, it's extremely tough. It's tough as they've had in conference history and in their program history, short history, but still, I mean, it's absolute gauntlet. And I think we're gonna learn a lot about where Coach Shawn Elliot is as a coach, and where the program is, honestly, quite frankly, and how they fare in these games. So, with that being, let me ask you this then: with the tough schedule, let's say Georgia State were not to make a bowl game, would that be disappointing? Because I mean, all the games they have, they can very well lose a lot of these games because they're just really tough competitions. But you do expect the program to be at a different level. So, if they don't make a bowl, would that be a disappointment? 5-7, that disappointment.
I feel like it will be. I only say that just because at the end of the day, I do think they can win enough of these games to get a bowl game. Now, if they were to win the Sun Belt, right? I think some people would say they go undefeated. I don't necessarily say they would go undefeated per se.
That's tough, man.
I don't necessarily. You know what I'm saying? I don't say that, but I do think there's opportunities for that, and you can't, like, prime example. And I don't want to spoil it, but I do think, let's just say, I think they can get past Army. Let's just say for some reason they can't get past UNC because they brought a lot of players back. Okay, tough loss. You lost to the top 10 team, but you go to Auburn, you go down to the Plains, and you can get a win. That shakes the momentum. Like, you can't let 1 week define the next week because you have so many opportunities just to be there. You have multiple opportunities to get it against ranked opponents. I'll say that again. I feel like 1 to 3 of the teams just in the Sun Belt alone are going to be ranked by the time they play them. So I just think Georgia State is capable enough to win 6 games. I think they're talented enough, and I think they have that veteran leadership to get them there, regardless. Like the only way they wouldn't get there is literally if something bizarre happened. I truly believe that.
So do you think that the program is to the point where the bare minimum now is winning 6 games and making it to a bowl? That's the bare minimum for the program?
I think Shawn Elliot has took it there. I think he took it there. And I think that is great because now, okay. I think for the most part, ever since he's came to Georgia State, like football has not been a joke. Like Georgia State has been like, hey, we're here to play. Like you better, when you come to Center Park Stadium or what used to be Georgia State Stadium, like you better come ready to play. So I think he has it right.
Okay, fair enough. Now, mentioned the press conference that you spoke with Shawn Elliot. Cornelius McCoy was one of the guys who spoke there. But we always talk about Quad Brown being the X factor, and then the defense too deserves a lot. It should be talked about because it's for as much as we mention the Quad's name, the defense is just as important as to the success of this team this season. So, who are some of the guys that you're looking forward to on the defensive side of the ball to stand out and kind of make an impact to improve that unit?
I think Quavion White, he's obviously the guy because he has experience. He's a senior. He made that game-winning interception versus Army 2 years ago for the most part. He is definitely a great plus to have back. Jalen Jones, who spoke at the press conference, I think his veteran leadership is important as well. Just because when you're on the defensive side of the ball, I truly feel that when you have veterans back there playing, they're able to spot out things quick, navigate the defense, and put them in the right positions to make plays. Okay. One person I think is important too is Hardrick Willis, defensive end, and Blake Carroll, he's a linebacker. I think both of those guys are seniors, if I'm not mistaken. But I think when we're talking about the defensive line and linebackers coming up to make plays within the run game, that is one of the places where Georgia State is looking to be consistent on the defensive line. And I think that's truly important as things wind down this season for their success on defense. Not only with their defensive backs, but with their defensive linemen and the linebackers coming up to make those plays.
All right, fair enough. So, Anfernee, I want to ask you now, who wins Saturday? I want to ask you about the season, but who wins Saturday, Georgia State or Army?
I think Georgia State wins Saturday. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than last time. Because last time, Army had a last chance to go down the field and get something done, but I think it's just a little bit closer this time. I have Georgia State winning a close one. Because it's always going to be tough. I mean, we're in the not only college football era, we're in the football era of offense and the spread. And Army still plays the option offense. So a lot of teams literally have to get used to that and figure out certain things. So but I think Georgia State defense is capable enough because they have seen this before. And they know they can do it and they're at home.
Okay, fair enough. Now I want to ask you, season outlook. What do you see from the Panthers season? Do you, I guess, if you could pick a record, give me a record, and then do you think they make it to the Sun Belt championship game?
Oh man,
tough to go down the schedule, man. It is. So maybe you don't have to give me a prediction, but just where do you think the Panthers will end up this season?
I think they'll be close to getting to the Sun Belt championship. I don't think they'll get there this year. A lot of people may say, of course, because of all the players that are coming back and the talent they have. I'm just not sure right now, just because the Sun Belt is so loaded and so literally, you got Coastal. They want to get back in the bench last season just because even though they won the Sun Belt, went undefeated, they lost to Liberty in the bowl game, and they want to get back and show what non-Power 5 teams can play when put on that stage.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I do want to ask you another question. You cover high school sports. High school sports are back full effect, and it'll be week 3 coming up this week. But Anfernee, Some was made last year after Georgia State didn't sign a lot of guys to the Metro Atlanta area. Georgia State, it hasn't been known. They have signed a few guys. Named Marcus Carroll, running back with Hayville a few years ago. Was it Hayville or did he go to drawing a blank? Cedar Grove. Was it?
It probably was.
I want to say Hayville, but it could have been a different school. Regardless, they don't sign a lot of guys from the Atlanta.
Yeah, it was Hayville. It was Hayville.
Okay, Hayville. Okay, I thought so. Okay, so they don't sign a lot of guys from the Atlanta area. That's one, and they have a few others. They don't have a lot, and there's a lot of talent in the Metro Atlanta area too. So, do you think it's a problem that they don't sign a lot of players from the Metro Atlanta area? I mean, I guess they wouldn't know, but because some people are still making kind of a deal about it.
Well, I'll say this. And I feel like I talked about this with people before. When you talk about recruiting, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and I'll say Texas. Those four states within the Southeast. Texas is more in the Midwest kind of. But I'm just saying, within a regional thing, those are states that even premier conferences and programs are trying to recruit from. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about the Metro Atlanta area, Georgia State has a lot of competition with that. You're competing against the SEC powers, the ACC powers, Big 10, Pac-12, and you know, just in Georgia alone, Georgia State has recruited against UGA, Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, your in-state rival, Kennesaw State. And I don't say Kennesaw State because they're able to snatch some recruits out of the state of Georgia. And the number one goal for a coach is he does have areas he does want to secure. And the Metro Atlanta area can be a room for improvement. But when it comes to recruiting, you want to get the best that are out there. He has shown he can get some players out of South Carolina. He has shown he can get some players out of Florida, which are huge states to get recruits out of. He has shown that he can get the best players to come in the system and thrive. Now, obviously, it would take some time within the metro area because, again, with UGA and Georgia Tech, specifically with Georgia Tech, getting certain players out the Metro Atlanta area to come there. But at the end of the day, it's about recruiting the best players. And if he is able, again, let's say he is able to consistently get to the Sun Belt Championship game and higher up with what he has now, we may not look as recruiting the Metro Atlanta area so much because he's able to be successful. But at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about recruiting the best to come in your system to help you be successful as a coach. And if he could snag a few out of the Metro Atlanta area, it could possibly help. I wouldn't say it's like a deal breaker or something.
Yeah. I mean, so it was a hot topic last year, and I know you since high school football is back, and I know you covered it. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it. I mean, would it be nice too, obviously, but there's so many options for kids to go to school. Like you said, you have UGA, you have Tech, and then Alabama's right next door. Auburn gets a lot of guys from this area, whether people want to admit it or not. Auburn gets a lot of players from this area and Georgia.
In the West Georgia area because Auburn is closer.
Yeah. Okay, so Auburn gets a lot of players from there. Coastal Carolina has snagged a lot of players from the Atlanta area. I mean, when you go up here, a lot of kids want to get away and go to school. And Georgia State is for as good as it is, and for as much as it's grown, it's just maybe doesn't have as much to offer a campus life or school life as to our other schools. So I guess
let me add the other thing. You literally just said it. We're in the 12th year of a football program. Literally 12 years ago, Georgia State was not the same thing it is now.
No, they weren't.
So they're constantly changing and improving. So, things are going to change. So when you talk about campus life, different dorms, apartments, restaurants, and different stuff to eat at, like, that's going to change for Georgia State. It's already changing. I mean, we've got some way from there. So
yeah, and being just looking at when the stadium first opened. If you would have went to the stadium when it first opened in 2017, it looked nothing like it does now. And the crazy part was seeing College Game Day was in town, and Georgia State was the host of College Game Day this past weekend before the MEAC SWAC Challenge but took place at Center Park Stadium. But before Game Day was there, showing up to the HBCUs. But just Game Day would not have come there 3 years ago.
It was.
2 years ago. You have the Aspen Heights dorm, the student housing. You have another housing project that's going up. You have several places to eat up and down Summerhill, in the Summerhill area of Georgia Avenue. You have several places to eat. You have ice cream shops, you have bars. Like, the area is a lot more developed now, and I think that'll help too. But like you said, it's just 12 years into the program, and they're still building on the fly, and it's just crazy to see the change in 3 years as opposed to 12. So just baby steps, and I think eventually they'll get there, and they're recruiting better in the Metro Atlanta area. But for right now, they're finding a way to make it work. So
yeah, exactly. So it'll be fun.
All good there. All right, make sure you subscribe. We're gonna watch this video, Atlanta Sports Unlimited, on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, Atlanta Sports Unlimited, to get all the latest updates. Tell the people where they can follow you, man. Tell them where they can read your work.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ANFPAT_. Facebook, Anfernee Patterson. And on the Atlanta Voice website at theatlantavoice.com. It's literally, that's the Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter too as well. You just go to the sports column, you can literally find everything you need. If you need to search my name in the bar on the website, you can do that as well. My link is in the bio on literally everything I mentioned to you on my Instagram and Twitter at ANFPAT_.
Perfect. That's great, Anfernee. Always thank you for joining us. Great as always, man. You're the best. Thank you so much for that. Make sure you go check this man's workout. He does a lot of hard work. He covers high school football with the best of them in the state of Georgia. He's all around the place. Who knows where he'll be? This is actually going to be in Charlotte this week, so it won't be at Georgia State. It'll be at Charlotte this weekend, covering Clemson and Georgia. But the man puts in a lot of work, so make sure you give him his credit and read his work and show him some love. So thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the game if you're going out to the game. If not, watch the game online. Be safe. If you have a party, be safe. If you're not going to watch this game, just watch some college football in general. You're going to be extremely happy with what you see. It's finally back. Yeah, week 0 last week, but now we have more games this week. So week 1 of college football is this week. The official start, I should say. So be very excited. So until next time, take care of each other. I'm Christian Crittenden. Thanks for watching.
Yes, sir.